There is Marjorie, sitting outside the craft room, staring at me.
What you doing out here? Huh? What you doing out here? Want to say hi to your viewers? Say hi.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the DeHart house. My name is Alicia, and I'm your host of this crafty channel here on YouTube. Today is July 2nd. Yes, it's July 2nd, 2023. And I'm coming to you from my home in the greater Seattle area of Washington State, in the beautiful Pacific Northwest of the United States. And it's a glorious summer day. It's not quite into the 90-degree weather, but we will be for the July 4th holiday. So the air conditioners are in the windows, the fans are going to circulate the cool air around the house, and we're as ready as we can be. So first thing I want to do is give a big shout out to the new subscribers of the channel. Thank you so much for coming and joining us and subscribing to the channel. It's been an interesting month. I'm going to catch you up on some things, but I logged into YouTube and I saw that we were over 700 subscribers, and I was scratching my head wondering when that happened. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for clicking that subscribe button. I'm so glad that you're here. So, yeah, I've kind of been not as active on the channel these past couple of months. I've had some health issues and been consumed by work, my daytime job that pays the bills. And so I'm going to catch you up on those things first. Then I'm going to share with you some projects that I have finished. And I have many more projects that are in the works than things that I finished, so I'll take you through those. And I'll share a little bit of an update about the garden because I neglected to give my garden tour video this month, and June is a great month to do garden updates because there's a lot going on. So yeah, I'll just do a quick overview of the garden towards the end of the video. So quick updates on what's been going on. First of all, my daytime job is that I teach for a living. I teach at a 2-year college, and we are now officially on summer break. Although I am kind of working this summer by running the math tutoring center, so I'm not completely off the hook, but I'm not teaching classes, and I don't have, you know, a full-time commitment to be at school every day. So, yeah, it's always a great relief this time of year to kind of check out and de-people. I'm full people all the time, you know, 100+ students at a time, and it's a lot, and summer break is that break that's needed to kind of, I call it de-people. I just need to not be around people for a little while and just get in touch with myself and relax. And so I've been doing that this week, and it's been glorious. So I feel recharged, re-energized, which is great because we're going to be have family here after the July 4th holiday, and we'll be doing family vacation-y things around here, and that should be a lot of fun. So on the last episode, I shared with you guys that I was having some health issues, and I have figured out what the issue is, and I have been able to make progress towards healing. So it turns out it was a ligament thing. So I've been having pain in my low back hip area, and it was extending around to the front of my body, and I just wasn't really sure what was going on. But I was in really great pain one day, and, you know, went to the doctor's office, and they did x-rays, and what is the term? Sacroiliac ligament. So my official diagnosis is sprain of sacroiliac ligament. So the way the doctor described it is the joint in your back where your spine meets your pelvis. That joint is your sacroiliac joint. And she said what can happen is that joint can get off, and then it strains the ligaments. And then what happens is that your muscles nearby all like tense up in response to that. And that's what I was feeling, just like super tight, hard to move. And sometimes I couldn't sit for long periods of time because it would hurt too much, or I couldn't stand for long periods of time because it would hurt too much. And like, I'd have to keep changing position, but standing up and sitting down and rolling over, all those things hurt to do. So it just seemed like a lose-lose-lose situation. And she said, yep, that sounds like what this is. So, yeah, I say that's all it was, because it could have been more internal with my organs kind of thing, and I would consider that to be more serious. But basically, I was doing too much bending over and heavy lifting because I'm getting the garden ready, turning the compost pile and bending over to pick weeds and carrying bags of mulch and things like that. And I just did too much, too fast, all at once. And I strained my body. And my body complained and said, hey, you need to cool it. But I didn't know that that's what my body was telling me. So I'd rest for a couple of days and I'd feel better and I'd go out and do it some more. And I just kind of tore myself up. So I am feeling so much better now, and I have stretches to do to help me, gain better strength and stability in that joint in my back, and so I just am gonna keep going with those things. But yeah, so I'm okay. I'm okay, everything's okay, and it's so much better now that I have actual answers and I know what the issue was. So while I was dealing with that whole thing, I did not feel like crafting. Like, I was in so much pain, I couldn't even think about knitting, even though I'm sitting on the couch, heating pad on my back, watching TV. I just couldn't even think about knitting, which seems silly to me, but I really couldn't. So I wasn't in the mood for crafting. There's no way I could go out and do anything in the garden. The main things that I podcast about, I was just like, nope. So I apologize for the lack of content on the channel, but life happens. Sometimes things come up and it just interrupts those things. So, and I did not have enough videos prepped ahead of time to be kind of posting those while I was down and out, so here we are playing catch up. But now that I'm here and I feel better, I'm able to get up and move around and not be in constant pain. I'm actually crafting again. I'm doing things out in the garden again, but I'm pacing myself this time. Instead of trying to do it all in one day of the week, I'm spreading it out to multiple days of the week, and I should have been doing that from the start. But work was really stressful and consuming, big projects coming to fruition, some of them are still ongoing, but I didn't have time and I was trying to fit too much stuff in. So now we're here to summer break, yay. And I'm able to do, my crafts, my hobbies, and things that I enjoy. So we'll start with things that I did finish in the month of June. And one of those things that I finished is a pair of socks. So I knit up these shorty socks. And the colorway, the yarn, is from Knit Picks. It's their Felici yarn, which I do really like. I don't like all of the self-striping colorways, but I do like this one, and I did purchase it on sale. The colorway is Friendly Skies. So it's blue, black, white, orange, and yellow. It's very sporty, in my opinion, and it matches the shirt that I'm wearing, which says, I'd hike that. And now Marjorie is here, groaning and moaning, saying, please pay attention to me. But yeah, these are a pair of short socks. These are for myself. And I did manage to make this out of one 50-gram ball of yarn, which I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. I thought that I would have to dip into the second ball. But no, I'm not going to have to do that. So the second ball of this yarn is going to become another pair of shorty socks for myself. But I am going to pick out a contrasting color for the heel so that I can make the cuffs just a little bit longer. Yeah. I was just thinking maybe I could get you know, it is possible I could get a pair of socks for Michael out of that other ball if I also do the toes in a contrasting color. Maybe. It's tough to tell because, you know, his feet are bigger than mine, so that means more. Anyway, doesn't matter. The second ball will become a second pair of socks for someone. There'll be a shorty pair of socks. And I will use a contrasting color so that I can make sure I have enough to make a pair of socks. Because it would be just my luck that the first ball is enough for a pair and the second ball isn't. That would be just my luck. The second thing that I finished in the month of June is actually a really old work in progress. And it's not a craft I've talked about on this podcast since this project. So the project is from when I lived in Texas, which was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, yes. So it's been a while. This is like a really long, languishing project. And it's a cross-stitch project. So I don't do a lot of cross-stitch, but I had purchased this pattern on Etsy, and it's all in one color. So it seemed pretty easy for doing cross-stitch after. The only time I had ever done cross-stitch before was when I was a young teenager, maybe 12 or 13. I don't know, but I remember I had I really loved Bugs Bunny as a kid, and so I can't remember if my mom or my grandma bought me a Bugs Bunny cross-stitch kit, and I didn't finish it, I don't think. But that's the last cross-stitch thing I can remember doing. Well, whatever. So it says Home Sweet Home, and I finished it, and I'm gonna turn this around and show you. I did not plan ahead on like leaving waste fabric. I don't know why I do this to myself. Look at this nonsense. First of all, the stitching on the back is really consistent. Like, that's cool. But look at this. I cut it to a square because the chart is a square when you print it. There isn't even any fabric coming through here. Like, I can't tug on this to tighten the sides here. Like there's some fabric here, but there's nothing over here. So the back is awful, and I have watched a few videos, and so I'm gonna do something to cover this back and like sew it in so that hopefully this stuff doesn't come out. But it's finished, so I got it out of my, I didn't feel like knitting, I didn't feel like spinning, I was recovering from this back pain, and I thought, you know what, I feel like cross stitching. Like for some reason, that's the craft I want to do right now. And so I dug this project out of my desk drawer and it's finished. So I had everything done. I had home, this flowery thing, sweet, and the H. And pretty much all I had to do was like finish the tail on the H, the OME, and this flowery bit here. So I finished up the OME and now it's done. So yeah. And of course, after finishing that, I felt motivated to start a new cross-stitch project, so that is what I did. So those are the only two things that I finished in the month of June. A pair of socks for knitting and the cross-stitch. But I feel really good about the cross-stitch because it's an old whip I got out of my desk drawer. So I started a new cross-stitch project, but it's an old pattern. I bought this pattern like 3 years ago. So the pattern is, so my husband and I really like going to national parks and camping and hiking and all the wonderful outdoorsy things, and I'm excited to start doing those things again. So this is Grand Teton National Park. This is from Awesome Pattern Studio, and I bought this pattern off of Etsy. And so yeah, this is pattern number 459, and you can see it's beautiful landscape, lots of colors, so it'll be more interesting than all black. And yeah, it's just gorgeous. So, number one, left all the salvage on the 8-count fabric. So I had already purchased the fabric cloth, and it worked out perfectly for this project. And so I didn't cut anything off of the edges because I did the measurements. I watched some videos on YouTube. I'll put a link down in the description box below of the channel I was watching. I think her channel's called Caterpillar Cross Stitch. She also puts out patterns, tutorials, all kinds of things. So I was watching a lot of her videos. And so she was recommending, I think it was 3 inches all around for salvage, for, you know, tightening your work and all that good stuff. So after I did all the measurements, so this is the cloth that I bought, and I would have cut off like maybe 2 inches on this side, and so I thought I'm just gonna leave it and I'll just work off the whole piece of fabric that I bought. I don't even know how many years ago I bought it, and I do this, I picked this up from my mom, but to put tape around the edge so that it's not fraying while you're working on it. Because, you know, you're going to be picking it up and shuffling it around and doing all kinds of rubbing and friction on here that will help it fray. And that's what I did on this other piece. And the painter's tape comes off real easily, actually. So the painter's tape was on that project for the whole 4 years. You know, me working on it and it's sitting in a drawer, getting moved from Texas to Washington, and then from our house we were renting to now the house we live in, and so it's been through hot and cold and all the things, and the tape came off super easy, no residue. It kept the edges from fraying. So I did that again, painter's tape. And I started the cross stitch. And I'm pretty excited about it. So the pattern is round. So the chart itself is round. And so I start in the middle, and then I sort of working out to the side and up. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm really excited. So hopefully this doesn't take me another 4 years to complete. But I had fun going to the store and buying, because when I bought, it was just the pattern, it wasn't a kit. So I went to my local craft store. I live in the Seattle area, so I could have access to lots of options. So I found a craft store that was having a sale. You know, she's got a whole chart in here with all the color numbers and how much you're going to use and everything. And I went in and bought all the colors and got it on discount, and I'm good to go. So I'm really excited. So I started another project pretty recently, actually just a handful of days ago. Like I said, after the July 4th holiday, a few days after that, we'll be having house guests. And so of course with that comes tidying up and preparing, and so I'm in here in the craft room tidying up. You'll notice I have a different arrangement now. So of course with tidying up, I find things I haven't seen in a while. Well, I haven't seen that in a while, I haven't seen that in a while. And of course it gets my creative juices flowing, and I want to do things. So one of the things I did is, so my very first yarn storage furniture was actually a shoe rack. It's fabric hanging shoe rack on a metal frame. And I got that, and that was my first thing, and I filled it with acrylic yarn. That was my bin for acrylic yarn, was there, and I, you know, sorted the colors in a rainbow and had access to them all there. It wasn't full to start, and then I filled it up and had overflow. Anyway, so I've been using up some things from my stash, and I emptied out some bins on the main storage area here. Right? And so now I have my acrylic yarn all down here. There's 4 bins, 4, 5, 6, there's 6 cubbies here that have acrylic yarn in them. So I had space. So I had space to basically get rid of that piece of furniture, which I'm pretty excited about. I've accumulated many things, and I'm running out of room in this craft room. So it felt good to just put it all here. Now I have a little bit too much. I put some in a box over there that was left over, but I thought, okay, goal, knit down my acrylic yarn stash. And I mostly got this acrylic yarn with the intent of using it in various blankets things. So I cast on a blanket. The intention is to make a baby blanket. So I really like to create baby blankets. I've said this before and I'll say it again. We do not plan on having children, so this is not for me. But, you know, baby blankets are just big old rectangles, and they're easy to make. and I can give them away as gifts. I can donate them to Project Linus. I can, you know, I can do things with them. So, so yeah, that's what I did. Is I cast on a baby blanket, and I thought I'd do something different this time. So I do really enjoy corner to corner blankets for a couple of reasons. One, the cast on is small. Two, it's kind of easy to find the halfway point of your yarn and just go, well, that's the halfway point of my blanket. And so the size can be adaptive to how much yarn you have. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons I like corner to corner. But I've made quite a few corner to corner baby blankets over the past few years, and I wanted to do something different. So I decided to just do straight across. Yep. So I cast on, I did a tiny gauge swatch just to get an idea of how many stitches per inch, and I knew I wanted it to be at least right around 3 feet wide, because if I'm going to donate this to Project Linus, they do have some specifications of like, make sure it's at least this big, and 3 feet wide is one of those guidelines. So okay, and I measured it, and it's about 38 inches wide, so I was pretty close on my little gauge swatch. And so I picked out some colors, decided this was going to be a warm colors kind of palette, so pink, yellow. I've got orange and red and purple set aside, and so yeah, I'm just gonna work through colors. So it's been pretty mindless. Knitting, really great for watching TV. I'm gonna be doing some online tutoring this summer, so I'll be able to knit while I'm, you know, online waiting for someone to log in and say, please help me with some math. But yeah, so this first color here is this beautiful, I don't know if this is coming across on the camera the same as in person, but it's this really pretty soft pink color. Not quite coral, but like a nice soft pink. I know that it's a Caron yarn. All this is worsted weight acrylic yarn from stores like Joann's and Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I know that this is a Caron yarn because it's got that that sheen to it, and I used up the rest of it. Well, not quite the rest of it, but this skein has a stain on the outside layer of the yarn, just like this big brown spot. I don't know if it's chocolate or what it is, but I said I'm going to knit until I get to that, and then, you know, kind of toss the rest. And so I did. That's what I did. So that determined the length of my stripes. Now, I thought I'd get further, but I did not. And this one is a tan color. Excuse me. And I don't know the brand of the yarn because this was gifted to me from a family member who was purging their stash of some yarn. So I used up this tan color. I did not use up the... This skein is a mess. I bet it's one of those 1 pound skeins because the thing is massive. And I still have a lot left. So I might be using more of the tan in this blanket. And then now I'm on this gorgeous golden yellow color, which is my favorite color. And so I'm working on that. And so I just want to, you know, use it up. It's a pretty warm blanket, actually. It's just garter stitch, so I'm knitting every row. And they're just big color blocks, so even on the wrong side, it still looks pretty nice. You know, I mean, you've got that little bit of overlap there, but from a distance you can't really see it. So this will be my, you know, mindless chit-chatting with people online and knitting, or, you know, we're gonna have family over, so it'd be something I could work on while we're sitting around talking or whatever. And so that'll just be a nice project. But before my back got really bad and I went through all of those phases, I had already cast on a sweater. And I don't know, did I show this last time? I don't remember. But I'm using up, this is yarn I bought, I think we were in Texas. I think this is from like 4 or 5 years ago. Impeccable Loops and Threads, which means it's from Michaels. I've got 5 or 6 balls of this color, which is taupe, soft taupe. And then I have 1 ball of this beautiful burgundy color. And I bought it with this particular pattern in mind, and I'll put a picture up here. The pattern is called Raglan Pullover, I believe, and it's free. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna finally cast that sweater on. And so it is knit in pieces, and I did not realize that when I cast it on, but it's bottom up, and this is the back side, I believe. And so I'm doing the raglan decreases here around the arm, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to show because the edge keeps rolling, because that's what stockinette does when you knit it flat. But yeah, so the back looks pretty nice. I will say, I thought about just doing it in the round, and then I thought, no, do something different. You've knit sweaters in the round before, bottom up and top down. And just try this. I did make that cardigan, the mellow cardigan, and that was in pieces, and it is nice. I do like it. So I was like, just do it as the pattern says, do it in pieces and stitch it together. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm making good progress, but I kind of set this down and threw it in the craft room, found it while cleaning. And so, yeah, this will get picked up again. I'm really just back and forth on the decrease section. And so I could crank that out in a day and move on to the next piece, but you know how it is. Sometimes you just want to work on, I don't know, a colorful baby blanket instead. So, but yeah, so I have a sweater in progress as well. So I have a sweater, I have a blanket, I have cross stitch. I warped up my loom to make towels, and immediately after that I had that major back pain day and haven't touched it since, because you kind of need to, like, you know, you gotta do this, and like you're using your muscles to, like, and I just couldn't handle it. So it's warped up, it's ready to go. I haven't touched it. Okay, great. So I've got a weaving project on the go. And then, you know, it's Tour de Fleece, y'all. Like, it's July. So everyone on social media is posting about their spinning prep through the month of June and getting ready, and oh man, I'm inspired. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I can handle spinning. Well, I started spinning. So me get my fiber. Okay, so in my craft room, I'm not going to show you because it's covered in boxes right now, but I have a cedar hope chest that belonged to my grandmother. And I decided that that was a great place to store washed wool while it's waiting to be processed and spun. So last year I made great progress washing wool, and so I have 4 or 5 trash bags full of wool, cleaned, stored in there. And I'm so thankful I did this and labeled them what they are. So I have, I think, 2 bags of Jacob, 2 or 3 bags. So I bought this locally up here in Washington. I drove to the lady's house. She let me like meet her sheep, and it was amazing. She doesn't have those sheep anymore. Her family has fallen on hard times and they had to sell them, which is very sad. But I have a lot of Jacob wool, so I'm set, right? So it's beautiful. It's white. It's this beautiful chocolate brown. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So I kind of started this project last year. Last year my focus in the summer was like wash as much wool as possible because storing dirty wool in your craft room is a horrible idea. And I started seeing signs of moths and I was freaking out, right? So like wash, 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 wash. Focus on combing and processing later. So I washed a lot. I didn't get through it all. So I'm going to finish that this summer. And so while cleaning up and tidying and stuff, I was like, you know what? Actually, that wool's all washed. All I have to do is a quick comb, 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 and then spin. So like, here we go. So I did some combing yesterday and some spinning. And I can't show you my spinning because it's still hooked up to the wheel. I was actually plying this morning and then stopped to get ready for church and went to church and came home and ate lunch, and now I'm recording a podcast. And so my spinning wheel is in the living room all set up like in the middle of plying. It's chaos. But what I'm doing is separating the colors out. So this is kind of, I'm not going to do this with all 2 bags of, I don't think I'm going to do this with all 2 bags of the Jacob wool, but this is the plan right now. Separate them by color. So I've got white, I've got brown, and then I've got like these mixed pieces that I'm not going to be separating out single strands of brown and white away from each other, right? So it's kind of nice. So I've got beautiful chocolate brown, and then these like mixed pieces, and then there's, you know, the white. And so my plan is to spin each of the colors up separately. So I'm plying right now white with white, and I've got 1 bobbin full of the brown. So after I'm done applying the white, I'll spin another bobbin of the brown, and then I'll apply those, right? And then with those separate colors, make a colorwork sweater that's white, brown, and this like mixed color. So it'll be all Jacob wool in this sweater, colorwork with the different colors. I think it will be really cool. So that's as far as I've thought about this fleece and stuff. And I have so much of it, so I'm just going, right? And so that's been fun to do. Oh my gosh, I just love it. So I started that July 1st because all of you out there on social media have been posting all of your lovely things in piles of fiber. It's just been so inspiring. Am I on a team? No. Have I declared goals? No. I'm just spinning because y'all are spinning and I want to be spinning with you. And it's inspiring and motivating, and I'm just like tagging along for the ride and enjoying myself. So we'll see how long I can keep that up. Like I said, we have plans this month, so at some point I'll need to like put that on pause because we'll be doing other things. And that's totally fine because I've put zero pressure on myself to like meet deadlines. So that's it for the crafty content. I do have some other projects in the works that just didn't see any love in the month of June. I have a drop spindle spinning project, but because of my back, and usually when I'm drop spindling I stand, and I'm not the best with my ergonomics, no way I was going to touch that project. You know, so I've got other things going on that I'm not showing you because they didn't see any love in the month of June. They'll resurface at some point. I know it. But just like many of you crafters out there, there are things that we feel more inspired to do than others. And so those are the things that I've shared with you today. But for now, I would like to take you out into the garden. It's a gorgeous sunny day. Last I was out, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, so you know it's gonna be warm. But I would like to show you the garden. Typically, July 4th is the time that I harvest the garlic. So I want to give you a shot of the garden while the garlic is still in there because I think it's just beautiful. It adds this, you know, texture to the green landscape that I have out there. And so once they get pulled, it'll make space for other things, and I'll get to do my garlic braids and hang those up in the house. But it's just so pretty right now with the garlic out there. So here are the peas. These are snow peas, and they grow up the trellis bed that Michael made for me. And in the front is the garlic, and you can see it is draping over. It is definitely ready to come out, so that's going to come out a couple days earlier. I've got a couple of cucumber plants in here. I did plant quite a few, but as they sprouted, something came and ate them, so only these two survived. So once I get the garlic out, we'll be able to focus on getting the cucumbers to come up and flourish. And over here, oh my gosh, our garden is just so pretty. Marjorie's chasing some squirrel or something off on the side. But we've got, so the tall grass-like things are the garlic. And so in this bed I've got peppers, garlic, one kale plant, some onions. In the red pots are strawberries. And behind them I have corn popping up. And it's just really pretty. Honestly, I should have filmed this earlier when it wasn't so sunny, but whatever. It is what it is. Yeah, so the garlic in there is definitely telling me, hey, I have brown leaves. I'm kind of bending over like they're ready to come out. This really tall plant here, these are carrots. They're carrots that I planted last year and I just left them in. And I was hoping they would go to seed, and they have. These things are taller than me, which is nuts. Here's the other side of that same bed. You can see all the carrots and stuff over there. So I've got corn coming up. And you know how the saying is, knee-high by 4th of July. We're not going to get there, but we're trying. I think I planted like 33 corn seeds, and this is what I got. It's not 33. And so I sowed some more seeds. I don't know. We're gonna see what happens. But yep, I at least have these plants to go with. But y'all, I have had so much trouble growing peppers in the past, and I just want to show you. I've already harvested one jalapeno. Look at this. Look at this thing. Like, oh yeah. I got jalapenos there. There's another pepper plant working on some for me. Here's another jalapeno plant working on some for me. There's one there. So yeah, I've got jalapenos are doing amazing. I've got cayenne over here. They're a little scrawnier, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm super excited about peppers because I have not been able to grow peppers ever. And so this will be the first year. So if I'm trading out corn for peppers, I'll take it. That's okay. And this bed has been absolutely beautiful. See, if I'd filmed this earlier, you'd be seeing the zucchini flowers, but now that it's sunny and hot, they're all closed. But we've got lush potato plants, zucchini. I've got volunteer lettuce throughout here that I just left in here because now I'm getting a second harvest of lettuce and it's being ground cover. I've got garlic here, some kale. I think this one's an acorn squash. This one volunteered itself somewhere else in the garden, and then I transplanted it here. I've got volunteer tomatoes I'm letting grow, even though I don't need them. I'm going to have a whole thing of tomatoes, but that's fine. This one's zucchini. Big old kale plant. I'm going to make some more kale chips. Potatoes throughout this whole bed here. More zucchini. So what's nice is I'm spreading things out. So instead of having all the zucchini together, they're spread out with things in between them. And same with the garlics and clumps and clusters, you know. And so the whole idea with that is to try to make it harder for pests to go from plant to plant to plant of one kind. So same with the potatoes. Some of the potatoes are split up with things in between them. So bugs can't just, you know, go all the way down the row and decimate my crops. And so far, things are doing better, and that may be the reason why. So, plus I think it just looks really pretty. I've got some green beans here, and they've got some tiny green beans starting to grow, which is very nice. So I think I might have a few more seeds, so I'm going to do a little reading about green beans. I might put some more in. See, I've got lots of volunteer squash back here I'm letting grow. I might move these around the garden. And these are my raspberries. So I've got them back in the corner so they do get shade for part of the day, which was part of the recommendation for them. So they're getting some partial sun right now, but yeah, there's new leaves. These are new leaves growing on here, new leaves. So it's doing well. No berries, but that's to be expected. We're also getting this fire pit set up, and I'm super excited about this. All we did was set it up to find a spot to put it, but we're gonna have to, you know, dig out the grass around it and things like that. But oh, I'm excited to have some backyard fires this year. Compost piles are doing well. This was all full of weeds. I don't know why. This back corner is always like the last place where I plant things. But I clear out all the weeds. And so I'm going to get Michael to help me. This is going to be all full of tomatoes. So this whole bed is going to have all tomatoes along the whole thing. So I've already got some set up here. So he already helped me put in these 3 posts. And so in between those 3 posts are tomatoes. I'll show you that. This is going to be a section without tomatoes because I've already got zucchini, banana peppers, potatoes, all up in there. But then the rest of this is going to be more posts and tomatoes. I think I planted like 6 pinto beans and only 1 plant came up, so that was pretty sad. But I've got potatoes back here. We got a single banana pepper plant. That's the only one that made it out of the seeds I planted. Oh yeah, I forgot. I've got a sunflower. So I also planted some sunflowers this year. And I've decided to space them out along here. So I've got a sunflower here. I've got another one up here, right here. I've got another one behind this post, and then another one on the end. So you should see like spaced out sunflowers. I think it'll be really pretty. And some zucchini. This is a bell pepper plant. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get bell peppers, but you know what? I have jalapeno and cayenne, so that's something. I've got volunteer potatoes all throughout here, but these tomatoes are all yellow pear tomatoes. This will be my first time growing yellow tomatoes. And I'm trying out grass clippings for mulch. And so far, I think it's going well. And yep, there's a sunflower right there. And this is another banana pepper plant. And maybe, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Oh yeah, carrots. I did sow some carrots here. So those have come up. And I'll have to get more carrots in the ground. Just, you know, that way we can succession sow them and succession harvest them, so we're not getting them all at once. But yeah, so as the tomatoes grow, I'll be putting string around these posts and kind of weaving it around the plants to help support them as they grow. And so we're going to try that this year. So up in the front yard is where I grow my flowers. So the dahlias are starting to come up. I've got roses in bloom. Lots of dahlias going to be coming up. Hydrangea getting flowers. Down here it's got flowers. So that'll be pretty. More dahlias up in the front here. I've got this is a low creeping around the ground, and it gets blue flowers in the spring, and it's really pretty. Up along the house there's hostas. This part gets a lot of shade, as you can see, just because of the angle of the sun. They get sunlight later in the day. It only hits it for maybe an hour or 2. But you can see we're getting hosta flowers, which is gorgeous, all along here. I finally identified what this viney thing is with these flowers. This is clematis. I can't remember if there's an N in there. But I'm gonna get Michael to help make some kind of support for that to grow up next year. Maybe later this summer, I don't know. But I don't know how I feel about viney things like literally growing on the house, because then it's harder to maintain these things. So I'd like to have its own actual support, but yeah, the hosta flowers are pretty, and they'll also bring in some of the hummingbirds and bees and things. Some of the strawberries in my pots, I used to have the pots up front here, and some of the strawberries came down and I left them, so they're growing and spreading out here, which is nice. So these are in the pots here are more carrots I planted last year, and they're flowering. I just left them because it's something. But this is that crocosmia, and you can see this'll flower. See, and it'll be this gorgeous bright red, huge pop of color. And then I also got these lilies. Oh, see, now I'm going to shade it out. There we go. And so I'm playing around with where I'm going to plant them. I think I like where they are. So, yeah, I just think that's so pretty. I've got these solar lights. I don't know if they're available on Amazon anymore, but they've got two settings. One is like a soft white light. The other setting is a multicolor, and it shifts through the different colors. So I've switched them from the soft white to the multicolor. Should be pretty. And then there's this bed out by the corner of the driveway, corner of the yard. And I've got tulips and daffodils all around the edge here. And I'll probably end up moving those later, but somewhere in the middle here I sowed these, I put the dahlia tubers, right? So we've got these really pretty red flowers here. And my little, 4th of July decorations. So we're all set up for summer.